I always look for how I can take the next step in my own life to live a more respectful, a more responsible, a more green lifestyle. And I ask you all to do the same thing. Congratulate yourselves for the good work that you are doing. I know that Pinawa has a wonderful reputation for being top of the line when it comes to recycling and for looking at the consequences of creating garbage and how we deal with our garbage. That's an important aspect. I think in many ways, when we don't look at the consequences of our choices, we get into the kinds of problems that we're facing us. And I'm especially glad to be able to welcome the grade 9 classroom here, because I think it's so important for young people to be involved in understanding the issues of the day. It's their future and future generations that I believe we in the Green Party are working towards. Not short-term solutions, but longer-term problem solving, where we try and be creative and use our resources as respectfully as possible, with not just looking at short-term profit for the few, but at a long-term vision that ensures that the natural capital of our world, our soil, our water, our air, is built upon, is recycled, that we're recycling nutrients. My background is as an agricultural inspector. I'm quite chemically sensitive myself, and so I've eaten primarily organic food, though my grandparents never called it organic. That was just how they did things. But when I left the farm to go to university to study foods and nutrition at the University of Manitoba, the food there in the cafeteria just about did me in. And I believe that those same principles that my grandparents used in their garden and their farm contributed so much to the health of that farm and to the health of our bodies. And that if we address the environment first and foremost when we're solving all of our problems, whether they're in healthcare or economics, that we will then have a solid platform from which to make real change. And this is why I think it's very important for you to realize that when you vote for the Green Party, you are sending a very strong message that you want the political parties of the day to have a solid platform, to not be just giving you smoke and mirrors and sound bites, but to have real, solid, rooted context and foundation to what they're saying. I'm very disappointed to see that so much of what the Conservatives say they're going to do is not translated into action on the ground. They talk about fiscal responsibility, have a reputation for being fiscally responsible, but yet look at the deficit that's been created. I want to be proud of Canada, and when I look at our reputation internationally now, we're lagging far behind in terms of dealing with many environmental issues, many human social justice issues. And I know that you will join me in wanting to be proud not only of our home province, but of Canada's role in the world. So I urge you very much to ask the questions of us this evening. I'm proud to be here and will do my best to answer, but also do the research and take a look at the budget and the platform we've put forward. And remember, please encourage those you know who might not vote to go out and vote, and think green, vote Janine, and tell a friend. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Gibson. Next is, I'm sorry.
Terry.
Terry.
Have to get these down to the right level again. My name's Terry Hayward, your Liberal candidate for Provence. My first campaign, my second all candidates meeting, so you'll have to put up with a gravelly voice and a bit of nervousness if you don't mind. I've lived in this riding for 20 years now. I am a retired federal civil servant, public servant, I guess we would call it. I spent 33 years with Agriculture and Agri-Food Canada, working in areas across Canada and also internationally. We worked under the Canadian Embassy in Washington, D.C., and also the Canadian High Commission in Wellington, New Zealand. As a retiree, I'm also a member of the FSNA, and if I'm not mistaken, there's a few members of that organization, federal retirees, in the audience here today. I got to enjoy a nice meal with the folks here last week when they had their annual general meeting. When I was able to, at age 55, I took a penalty in my pension and retired. I spent the last 6 years of my career commuting between the farm in Enola and Ottawa. I was an apolitical public servant for my 33 years. I worked with federal ministers of agriculture of both stripes, be it Eugene Whalen with the green hat, be it John Wise. I had progressive conservative ministers and other ministers. And the one thing I noted, there is a great respect by all those gentlemen for the Parliament, for the industry I worked with, and for public servants, and for the public in Canada. Things, however, after my retirement started to bother me a little bit. Things were happening in Canada and to Canadians that disturbed me. I was upset with the political gaming that ended up in an election in 2008. We had just had an election that saw fewer Canadians vote than ever before in our history. It cost Canadians hundreds of millions of dollars for that election. So it cost us that for this one as well. And what did we get for it? We got another minority government. Now, I'm not upset with minority governments. That's our parliamentary system and our democracy. Canadians in 2008 sent our members of parliament to Ottawa with a clear message: work together for the best of Canada, in the best interest of Canada. Now we find ourselves near the end of another campaign, 2011. The Conservatives refused to accept the voters' voice in 2008, but their mandate was to make a minority government work for this country. Parliament was shut down twice since 2008 by a Conservative government that feared being defeated in the House of Commons. We had a government minister found to have altered government documents, and then she misled Parliament. We had elected members of Parliament being denied information on the full cost of the government's proposed programs and purchases. This is what I call a part of our democratic deficit. The Conservative government fell last month on a motion of non-confidence. It was brought on by a finding of contempt. Contempt for Parliament, contempt for Canadians. We've endured a personal attack campaign that started when Michael Ignatieff was chosen as Liberal leader. Our Liberal response has been to criticize the wasteful spending of the Conservative government and its policies. We have developed a plan through an open dialogue across Canada with Canadians of all backgrounds, and are offering a fully costed suite of programs for families, seniors, the children, and our environment. We're the ones that have introduced the fact that we will go after the freshwater strategy. We're the party that has said we will have Canada's first national food policy. As a party and as a Canadians, for myself, we're extremely concerned with the actions of the Conservative government that took a $13 billion surplus when they took power and turned it into a deficit before the worldwide recession hit. And now what have we got? It's ballooned to $58 billion. This has happened through waste and political opportunism. Our plan will not raise taxes on the families. There will be no increase in personal income tax, regardless of what you hear on the radio and the television. There will be no sales tax increase in GST. There will be no small business tax increases. Our focus is on what really matters, giving every Canadian the tools they need to succeed. Need education, need a better healthcare plan, having a healthcare plan. We want better from our parliamentarians. We want individuals who can work together to get the best job done for Canadians. On May the 2nd, I'm asking you to put me, Terry Hayward, to work for you.